You're watching another True Villain commentary.
What's going on, everyone? I'm just gonna say right now, if Modern Warfare 4 misses, I really think Call of Duty is in serious trouble. Not fake trouble, not Twitter outrage for 2 days and then everybody forgets. I mean real trouble. The kind where people stop giving the franchise the benefit of the doubt. The kind where the Modern Warfare name stops feeling like an event and starts feeling like another yearly obligation. And with GTA 6 sitting out there like a giant shadow over the entire industry, yeah, this game matters way more than a normal COD release. Because this is not just another Call of Duty launch. This feels like a make or break moment for Infinity Ward. And honestly, for a lot of players, it feels like a last chance. That's the thing. The brand is still huge. The name still means something. If you say Modern Warfare, people still react. Captain Price still matters. That gritty military look still matters. The sound design, the atmosphere, the tactical aesthetic, all of that still means something to people. But the problem is the trust behind that name is nowhere near what it used to be. And that's why MW4 is such a weird game already. It has nostalgia on its side, but it also has franchise fatigue dragging behind it like a weight. People want it to be great, but they also feel exhausted. They want to believe Infinity Ward can get it right, but they've also seen too many decisions over the last few years that made them stop trusting the process. So, when I look at this game, I don't just see a reveal, I see a test. I see the question that's been hanging over Call of Duty for a while now. Can this franchise still feel important, or are we just watching it slowly lose ground while pretending the next title is always gonna fix everything? And if we're being real, Infinity Ward's reputation is a huge part of this conversation. Because Infinity Ward is one of those studios where people still remember the peak. They remember MW2, they remember MW3, they remember MW2019 coming in and completely refreshing how COD looked and sounded. That game had a real identity. Even people who didn't love everything about it still admit it felt premium. It felt heavy. It felt grounded. It felt like it had direction. And that's what so many people want back. They do not want another confused middle ground where the game is half tactical, half arcadey, half trying to please Warzone players, half trying to please multiplayer fans, and somehow never fully committing to anything. That is the fear. Because if MW4 returns to that grounded MW2019 type of feel, a lot of people are going to be locked in immediately. But if it keeps drifting toward a more generic, faster, safer, overly smoothed out style that loses that identity, then yeah, the community is going to turn fast. That's what makes this so important. Infinity Ward is not just making a shooter here. They are deciding what Modern Warfare even means now. Is it still the gritty side of COD? Or is it just another yearly release wearing a familiar name? Then you get to what might be the biggest long-term issue in the whole franchise, the Warzone problem. Because one of the loudest frustrations from the community over the last few years has been that the base game feels like the side piece while Warzone gets treated like the main event. And that has done real damage to how people view multiplayer. That's why so many players feel disconnected now. They buy the premium game, but it doesn't always feel like the premium game is the priority. It feels like everything gets filtered through Warzone logic. Weapon balance gets touched, because of Warzone. Progression gets shaped around Warzone. Marketing gets shaped around Warzone. The whole ecosystem feels tilted toward the free mode, while the paid multiplayer starts feeling like the second class citizen. And if MW4 doesn't change that feeling, then it's gonna have a problem. Because people are tired of feeling like they're buying into a franchise that keeps treating the full price experience like support content for the bigger machine. And I really think this is one of those hidden reasons. So many players have become less emotionally attached to new CoD releases. The base game doesn't always feel like the heart anymore. It feels like infrastructure. That has to change. MW4 needs to feel like it matters on its own, not just as a content feeder, not just as a weapon unlock path, not just as a Warzone extension. It has to feel like a game with its own identity, its own priorities, and its own reason to exist. Then, of course, you get to the fairness conversation. And yeah, this one is always messy, but it matters too much to ignore. SBMM, EOMM, whatever people want to call it. The bigger point is simple. A lot of players no longer trust matchmaking. They do not feel like the game is just letting matches happen naturally. They feel like the experience is being shaped for them behind the scenes. And once players start feeling that way, every close loss, every weird streak, every one-sided lobby, every suspicious momentum shift starts getting looked at differently. That is poison for a competitive shooter. Because once the player starts thinking the game is too controlled, too manipulated, too engineered, then even good gameplay can feel bad. And that is why MW4 really needs to get this right, or at least communicate better than CoD has in the past. I'm not saying they need to remove every system and go fully old school overnight, but if players load into MW4 and it still feels like the same disbanding lobby, overtuned, suspiciously curated experience, then all this goodwill is going to burn up fast. People can tolerate a lot, but they hate feeling like the game is playing them. And honestly, that leads into another issue that matters more than people think, the whole content and monetization vibe. Because a lot of players are just tired of what I'd call skin slop. You know exactly what I mean. Random goofy bundles, weird crossovers that kill the atmosphere, operators that look like they wandered in from a completely different universe. The game starts as this serious military shooter, and then 6 months later, it looks like a fever dream. And yeah, some people love that stuff. I get it. It makes money, it gets attention. But there's also a big chunk of the community that wants MW4 to hold the line a little more. They want the tactical look back. They want the game to feel coherent. They want the visual identity to actually stay intact longer than 2 weeks. Because aesthetics matter, tone matters, immersion matters. If the whole thing starts turning into a cosmetic circus again, that chips away at the identity too. And this is where I think MW4 is sitting in the most dangerous spot possible. It has more pressure on it than almost any COD in recent memory, and it's walking into a market where people have more exit options than before. That's the external threat nobody should ignore. GTA 6 is looming, and even though it is not a direct one-to-one shooter competitor, it absolutely is a time competitor. It is an attention competitor. It is a cultural gravity competitor. And when a game like that drops, it changes player behavior. It changes what feels worth grinding. It changes what feels exciting. It changes what feels stale. And if MW4 comes out and feels like more of the same, while GTA 6 is out there pulling energy from the whole industry, that's bad news. Same thing with Battlefield trying to fight back. Same thing with players getting older and less willing to waste time on games that frustrate them. The yearly COD cycle does not feel as untouchable as it used to. And I think a lot of fans know that deep down, even if they don't always say it out loud. That's why this feels like the last hope or the final nail. Because if MW4 really lands, then COD buys itself something priceless again, belief. But if it misses, then the community cynicism goes to another level. And once that happens, it's a lot harder to sell the next game on hype alone. So, where do I land on all of it? I think MW4 has the ingredients to matter. The name matters. Infinity Ward still has some credibility left. The community clearly wants a reason to believe. But I also think this is one of those moments where good marketing is not enough. Nostalgia is not enough. Pretty graphics are not enough. This game has to actually feel like the franchise remembered what made people care in the first place. It has to feel deliberate. It has to feel fair. It has to feel like the base game actually matters. It has to feel like Infinity Ward knows what Modern Warfare is supposed to be. Because if they get that right, MW4 could absolutely bring people back. But if they get it wrong, then yeah, I think a lot of players are going to stop asking if Call of Duty can recover and start asking what they're moving on to instead. And that's a very different conversation. If MW4 fails, what game are you moving to permanently? Let me know in the comments. And if you're new around here, subscribe. See you guys in the next video.